Welcome to Contributor Appreciation, Progressive Soapbox with Mrs. Thomas. Welcome to the Soapbox. My name is Jamal Thomas. I am here with my lovely wife, Mrs. Thomas, for the Contributor Appreciation Special. How you doing today? Welcome to the show.
Tired, but I'm good.
Yeah, I was tired too. I was in and out, but we're here.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Doing the news. Today was a long day. Michelle was on break today, so we had to take on double duty.
And Michelle is the producer for the
Political
show
Misfits. 12 to 2.
Political Misfits.
Yeah. Monday through Friday. So I'll let you give your spiel about what the Contributor Appreciation Show is for the audience. And I'm not going to interrupt.
Okay, I'm excited. My name is Aisha, aka Mrs. Thomas, and I am here every now and then for this great Contributor Appreciation segment. And so once a week, we try to do a show that is geared toward what you, the supporters, would like to hear. And so I put a post on the Patreon platform and asked for your topic suggestions, and we asked for patrons to give us what's on their mind, and that's what we use to fuel today's content. So if you are a patron, make sure that you log into the Patreon platform and submit your topic suggestions so that we can discuss them on the weekly Contributor Appreciation. Typically it's Sunday or Monday, depending on how he feels, if I'm working and all that good stuff. So just keep an eye out for the show because we do aim to do it weekly. If you're not familiar with what the Patreon platform is, it is a platform that allows you, the viewer, to contribute to help support Jamal's content. So you see a content creator and you say, I want to support them. You log on and create a Patreon account and you pledge a monthly commitment, like $1 or $2, $5, whatever it is, and that helps make sure that he can continue to keep his content going. Because like Adam Bell said, the very first comment that we had so far tonight, Adam Bell mentioned that Jamal is getting slammed by YouTube algorithms. Notifications aren't coming through.
Yeah.
So he's missing out on views and all types of stuff. And so if you... wait, you say you weren't going to interrupt?
I'm not.
So if you're interested in making sure that he can continue to create content, consider being a Patreon. But also for everyone who contributes and supports the channel outside of monetary ways, still thank you. Make sure that you are subscribed if you enjoy the content. And if you find yourself engaging in the chat and enjoying a video, make sure you give the video a thumbs up, especially if it's a live stream like this one, because it helps that algorithm let more people know that we're live or that he's live, and more people get notifications so they can come see the show. So subscribe, hit the notification icon, share, like, all that good stuff. And I think that's it. Oh, and if you are not aware, if this is your first time here, like I said, my name is Aisha, but I look at my phone because I take a look at the chat during the show. So I will comment occasionally on what you guys are talking about. If you want to make sure that your comment or your topic is read aloud, you always have the option to do a super chat. But welcome to the show, Contributor Appreciation, right here on the Soapbox. Are you ready? Because I feel like I'm just rambling now because you're like you were doing something.
Oh,
okay.
I was ready. I was waiting. I was giving you time.
I was like, I gotta kill time. I don't know what's happening. You're very busy on the other screen over there. Okay, well that's it. I'm done with my spiel.
All right.
Can I go now? Because that's pretty much what I come to do.
I was gonna leave it. I was gonna let that conversation take place. Right now might be too strong, but this took place in Australia. Isn't that cool? It's a meteor.
Is that an airplane?
No, that's a meteorite. Cutting into the...
Oh, wow. I like it behind the clouds. That looks kind of creepy.
It is. So cool. Few and far between will we get to actually visually see those things.
It looks like an alien spacecraft.
A little bit, doesn't it? I wouldn't be shocked if it just stopped.
It looks green and glowy in the video.
But it's meteorites.
But you're saying it's not an alien spaceship?
Not an alien spaceship. I just thought it looked
Is the
cool.
world coming to an end? I mean,
at
like,
some point, yeah.
Clearly we're fucking the world over, but like, Is it imminent? Like, is it?
Yes.
I mean, not imminent. That's not the word. Is it coming soon?
On what scale? Galactic?
Well, is that meteor coming to kill us?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No. There may be an asteroid somewhere that's kind of hiding behind the scenes that are waiting to hit us.
To bring us to
that
our
we're just kind of
knees.
unaware of. We don't have an absolute view of the sky. Like, for the most part, we don't see everything. Space is massive. There could be things that slip through our perspective of events. And in that situation,
What is that actually?
I hear a video. I hear
something running too.
That's why I keep looking like, is that my phone? I hear audio or something. How you guys doing today? I hope you guys are having... I hope you had a good weekend. I hope you're ready for the week. I hope your day went better than mine did.
Yeah, you I don't see it, so I'm going to go
It
into
actually
the first story.
sounded like my voice. Because it was kind of high pitched and
Maybe
annoying.
it was this. It might have been this. People talk behind the scenes on the thing. It might just be low.
Okay.
So let's discuss the protests. Or better yet, before getting to the protests that's taking place in Atlanta. George Floyd. So we saw the video. Ghastly. I couldn't watch the entirety of it. I just watched part of it. Protests. Millions of people in the streets. Yada, yada, yada. But were any other cops who were watching that bothered by what they saw? The answer is yes. And apparently,
I hope so.
So apparently, Minneapolis police dispatcher calls the sergeant to report what she saw as being atrocious. I'm going to let you hear the video of this. Now, this report never really got to where it was supposed to get to.
Okay, let's see.
Vanished out of...
Because I haven't seen this either.
Yeah,
Let's
it
see.
vanished. This is new. This is just released.
Just
I can't hear.
To let you know about the person with a knife at 2602 Bloomington.
All right, let's try it again.
30, 44, May 25, 2020.
Hey, this is Jenna with Channel 1.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, so, just wanted to let you know about the person with a knife at 2602 Bloomington. And then, I didn't know, you can call me a snitch if you want to, but we have the cameras up for 320's call. Oh, did they already put him in the... They must have already started moving him. And 320 over at Cup Foods.
Okay.
I don't know if they had used force or not. They got something out of the back of the squad, and all of them sat on this man. So I don't know if they needed to or not, but they haven't said anything to me yet.
Yeah, they haven't said anything. This was just a takedown, which doesn't count, but
Okay.
I'll find out.
No problem. We don't get to ever see it, so when we see it, we're just like, well, that looks a little different. All right, thank you.
Right.
Bye.
Sounds good. Bye.
20, 31, 33.
Now, what's wild about this, she said we don't typically get to see it, meaning when the calls are coming in, we don't entirely ever really get to see the
video.
calls as it takes place. Well, in this case, she was watching. Basically, for whatever reason, they had a video feed of what was taking place. And when she saw it, it bothered her to the point where she contacted the sergeant to report it.
Now, just to be clear, because you said... Now, when you said, are police having negative reactions to this, I'm thinking... I'm not saying that this isn't a police officer, but this is a police 911 dispatcher.
Yeah, right. But there were police who sent out a message to the public from Minneapolis Police Department.
But this is the recording of the dispatcher calling.
Who saw it.
Okay.
Like, she saw it and was like, oh my God. They sat on this man for X amount of time.
She was a little...
lighthearted in regards to reporting.
It's like, I don't know. It looked like, they sat on him.
But consider the fact that she
but
reported it
at least she did say something, but the tone wasn't as...
Right. The tone wasn't
severe.
As
it probably should have been,
Yeah, but considering
she's
she's a cop. I mean, like that's in and of itself a shocking that she called. She was like, call me a snitch if you want. Call me a snitch if you want, but this looks bad. So I agree with you that the tone wasn't necessarily as severe as we'd like it, but this gets across that somebody saw it was like,
yeah.
Like that.
Well,
horrible.
The small amount of hope that I have from humanity, is that police officers somewhere out there are looking at what's going on in disgust.
Now, so that's the interesting part. So the police force with Derek Chauvin basically put out a letter in Minneapolis saying, we condemn the behavior. He ignored Floyd's humanity. We are not like that. We didn't join the force to be this way, et cetera, et cetera. etc. The fact they put out a letter is startling. I've never heard a police force
Yeah,
do
because
that.
the one guy that got sentenced or something recently, when he was leaving the courthouse, there was like a crowd of police officers cheering him on.
Hero! 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 You pushed that old man to the ground and they're treating you wrong. They're treating you wrong. And then there's Officer Baloney, who club wielding maniac. Bologna is strong. Bologna is strong.
Yeah, President Jafar said it didn't sound like she gave a shit. Honestly, that's what I was like. She's very
put it in perspective
flippant.
that she called.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's good that she called.
Like, you must understand. Look at what
I want
you
her
saw.
Screaming and cursing on the call.
But look at what you saw in the video. Those cops kneeled on a man's throat, and the other cops stood there and just watched. They didn't even perceive an issue because that's just the way they do their job and place to place to place. I would imagine she felt awkward even calling. Like, put yourself in her spot.
And sometimes, too, when you're in a situation that is
Use
awkward,
humor to
you
dissuade.
might kind of, I'm not really trying to tell on anybody.
Right.
But,
well,
maybe
you heard her
that's
start.
where she was coming
Call
from.
me a snitch if you want.
Yeah.
That's where she started. You can call me a snitch if you want. Meaning she understood where she was on that line versus where she was on the blue line. And in being in part of that blue line, that's not something they typically do. Again, the fact that she called at all, you must understand how mind-blowing that is. She was like, whoa, that looks inappropriate. And, she might have been giggling her way through it because she probably was uncomfortable. But the fact that she said, call me a snitch if you want, she thought she was a snitch. Like, nobody said anything but a snitch. That's you believing that you're
and like
a snitch.
the report says that the dispatcher watched a video of the officers holding him down because she was reporting it because the officers hadn't done so yet.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, holding Floyd down. The officers hadn't done the report. Look, I appreciate her even recognizing it. I even appreciate the Minneapolis PD putting out the letter saying, hey, this is not what we come to force for. Look, I tend to think the majority of cops are bad apples. I have a heart, it's no accountability in regards to the way they do their jobs. It's not just the murders. It's the beatings, it's the hitting, the assaults, the flagrant abuse of authority, the ripping away, stealing people's stuff. It's all of it. Like Breonna Taylor, for example, the no-knock warrant that they used for Breonna Taylor was illegal. Do you think that was the first no-knock warrant they did? Fuck no. The only difference is there was attention on this case, and so people saw it. The fact that, oh wait, they were doing something that was flagrantly illegal over and over and over again, and it was at this specific moment where they just got caught. Well, they got caught because they murdered a woman in her underwear, shooting her 6 times, as they burst open into a room, and it shocked the shit when the person who's in the room tries to defend the fact that they're in their house. For fuck's sake. This is what these guys are doing. Man, I appreciate her at the very least recognizing something is wrong with that picture, even if she considered herself a cop in the process. So good for her.
All right, I got super chats to go through
before
we get through. We got 185 people here. Make sure if you are enjoying the content, you give the video a thumbs up. Marcus Will said, any thoughts on cutting police training from Israel?
Shouldn't happen in the first place. Well, no, it shouldn't happen. I mean, you've been in Israel. Both of us have.
Yes.
What did you notice as we were on those trains?
There were armed teenagers all over the fucking place.
Right. Now, I was awkward in Israel. I felt weird being there.
It was, and
now,
they were kind of very casually.
Let me explain it. I felt the first time I went to Israel, I was very weirded out by it.
That was without me.
Right. That was, I think I was 30. It was going, I was going by myself, and I was going from pillar to post, and I needed to go through Israel in order to get to Jordan, to get to the airport in Amman. And I was there for a while, and I had just come out of Egypt for maybe 3 weeks. So this was an immediate shift, because Israel is like little America, and Muslim countries
Egypt
are not.
Is not.
Right?
Yeah, Egypt
it's like they're not. It's just a dramatic difference. And so it's like you're going from America or from somewhere that's not America, immediately to America. They just speak a different language. So it's really bizarre. Many of the people that you speak to would speak perfect English to you.
Yeah.
Almost with no accent, better than the American speakers. Many of those people are from the United States. And they got their little lot of land, and they would talk to you very enthusiastic to see you from the U.S. No hard feelings or anything. Oh, welcome to Israel. it's a beautiful country. There's nothing, it's like beautiful country to look at it, especially when you're looking at a comparison and coming out of some of the countries in the Middle East. However, that land was stolen, and it is very obvious that land was stolen. It's because everybody's walking around with massive weapons. Like when you were there and you were at the memorial, and I was like, I felt awkward being in Israel the entire time because my thought was,
we went to the Holocaust Museum,
right? But you noticed, you were like, hey, there's a lot of people with guns. And is it possible that they have those guns because they're trying to pacify a community where they're stealing the land?
It was weird.
It's weird. And so,
that aspect of Israel was weird.
But it's a key component of Israel because that's what they're doing in order to take and hold the land.
I think one of the things that I noticed was they were so young. Because we would get on the train and like men and boys and girls, like maybe 20, probably not. Like 18-year-olds would like get on the train with us with like, it looked like machine guns. Well, I don't know what they were, but like these
mandatory
rifles.
Military service.
Yeah.
I mean, and many of the people
it was intense.
Are fascists. Like it's like hysterically fascist. And so you could have a conversation with somebody about healthcare, economic, all that stuff. The moment that you get to the issue of Palestine, that shit flips on a dime. And it's, we must defend our territory. We must defend it. Like they would flip out. Like it's a whole night and day thing. Like I remember having a conversation with the guy who says, I don't understand Trump's policy on this other stuff, man. This environmental stuff. I think Trump is out of his mind. But pro-Trump. Why? Because he's so fanatically Israel that they don't care about the other stuff.
See, you have a unique perspective because when we travel, you want to have those conversations.
It depends. In Israel, you can't really entirely have those conversations because it's hard to get across. There's no left wing in Israel on the issue of Palestine, or if it's there, it is a wisp of anything.
Right, and then it's so. What's the word I'm looking for? It's so aggressive. It's like, are there people who are against this?
Right, exactly. Right.
There's little pockets.
There might be pockets, but those people are not in the streets.
It seems like collectively, this is the stand.
When you're looking at the political space and you're trying to figure out who's going to take power, who was it between? Netanyahu and Gantz. One was, I'm going to annex that region. The other one, I'm going to annex that region.
So when he's talking about cutting the training from Israel, tell me about that.
So the reason I bring up the other part is because I'm trying to make the point that there's a fundamental difference in Israel and the way that it goes about pacifying a community versus the way you want your cops to engage in a community that you're not trying to pacify. It's a fundamental difference in thinking. Do I want my people trained by a country that is pacifying people in an open-air ghetto? Kids, everything, like hostile territory. Mm-hmm. Do I want the police? Is that really how you want your cops trained? I would say, intuitively, no. Your cops aren't there to pacify the population. Your cops aren't there to look at every situation as a means for escalation and maximum justice. That is not what you want as a society. And yet, when you send those guys over there to this kind of hero training from Israel, that is, by definition, what you're going to get. Because what else is Israel going to train them to do? They don't have anything else to train them to do. It's what they are. So, yeah, the training in Israel just seems appalling to me. It just by definition of what Israel wants to accomplish in regards to the way they go about their policing and annexation of territory versus what U.S. police and what we may want cops to do as a job.
Yeah.
It's obscene.
All right, I got more super chats.
Go for it.
Before we get to the next topic. Mana Talk, thank you for the super chat, says, all political parties in the U.S. have now been compromised. VoteHerd.org. That's vote, HERD.org. No more parties. It's all right.
I would say one thing.
Mana Talk says.
Black Lives Matter should back the Green Party.
Well, we have a topic about that.
Yeah.
You want me to...
Yeah, go ahead and talk about the topic. The organization of Black Lives Matter should come out and say, we are not supporting the Democrats because we're supporting these things. Joe Biden and the Democratic Party has not created a justification for why they're not willing to support Medicare for all, if that means stopping Trump and holding off the apocalypse. And because they can't answer those basic questions, I mean, for fuck's sake, Medicare for all has 88% support. Because they can't answer those questions, we are not going to back the party. If the Democratic Party doesn't care about beating Trump, then we don't either, and we're going to back the Green Party. And be vocal about it. Now, the catch becomes, do you get the media's attention to say, whoa, these groups are backing? Because if you do, that becomes a problem, that becomes awkward. If you don't, then that's less awkward. But should they do it? Yes.
Okay. Well, that was the question that Michael Williams wanted you to talk about. Specifically, he says, shouldn't Black Lives Matter link up with Poor People's Movement and Movement for People's Party and put forth their own candidate for president? So I'm glad we kind of ended up on this topic because that was one of those.
Indubitably, yes.
Indubitably,
yes. Because think about what we're talking about. I keep saying, well, there needs to be a political edge to the protests. Why? Because at some point, what you want needs to be accentuated and instantiated in the political space with changes that make your material world different. If you get righteous indignation and rage and it peters out, you've fundamentally lost an opportunity. I mean, you've had 20-something% a shift in the public opinion towards Black Lives Matter, towards cops, towards race relations, not just among whites, but even among blacks. It's an astonishing thing to see, actually, to be alive to see it that fast on a dime. And so while the media attention is on you and the media attention is struggling to get across now to COVID-19 again, but while you have some level of the limelight in regards to the media attention, defund the police is a provocative statement that is able to get the public's attention. By the same token, what you want is issues of poverty. Now, the reason I say that is because if you can look at a broad spectrum and you could say, I can remove 30% of crime off the top, low-hanging fruit, if I deal with the issue of poverty. Meaning, if I say communities, low-income communities, regardless of race, low-income communities have a higher propensity towards child absenteeism, and that has a much higher chance of ending up in prison. If I know that poverty affects the gray matter of children, making those children perform and having worse outcomes. If I know that poverty has low income mortality rates, meaning for kids dying at an early age, dying at a late age, meaning when people get older, they tend to also die earlier. Things of suicide and opioid abuse, depression. If I know that poverty is fundamentally linked to those things, and I also know that the vestiges of poverty, especially for the African American community, are directly attributable to the policies that had taken place, either housing policies, banking policies, economic policies, policies that school, that not to mention art, history, the very edifice of society itself tilts and changes in order to propagate a lie that this man is somehow inferior to this other man.
Yeah.
If I know that, then how am I gonna, as a society, let that propagate? Especially when it's something that I can fix. Maybe not all of it, but if I can take 30-40% off the top, I consider that a win. The catch here is your society needs to deal with poverty. So if Black Lives Matter is hitting at the notion of defund the police, I think they slightly go askew. It's not so much that poverty issues aren't necessarily tackled within the context of the way they're talking about that stuff. It's just defund the police is very specific. The Poor People's Campaign is very specific. And so it makes all the sense in the world to link up with those groups, or for them, the Green Party. Again, parties that deal with income inequality, environmental justice, those type of things. I think it makes sense because you, at that point, created a lightning rod around this notion of blacks and not supporting Joe Biden. Because King of Blacks, Joe Biden, runs on this notion that he was, the purveyor of civil rights, and he was marching arm in arm with Martin Luther King and in Selma getting beat up. Nonsense. And so it would make somewhat of a provocative statement for Black Lives Matter to reject the Democratic Party and to reject the politics that they're putting forth and put out questions that go beyond this notion of defunding the police. I mean, for fuck's sake, do Black Lives Matter? 3-1 dying COVID-19. Do they matter? The apocalypse that's going to take place in regards to evictions will be predominantly us. The same thing with the 40 million people that are out of a job. Who do you think those people are? Do Black Lives Matter? Yay or nay? And if so, that goes beyond police murdering blacks. I mean, the police killing that we have here in Atlanta, Georgia. Ghastly. Heinous. But the issue of black life goes beyond cops murdering or killing. It also goes into issues of income inequality and health outcomes that are disparate because of such. It goes beyond that. So yes, my answer is yes.
Okay. Now, next and next.
Absolutely.
We got a lot.
That's a separate video.
You can't be monologuing.
I'm not monologuing, but I do want to try to explain what I mean when I say why they should pull away because it's political reason to do so.
I understand.
Go for it.
There's some long ones on here. Sean Lancaster, thank you for your topic suggestion. This is coming from the Patreon platform and is in line with what we're talking about, and also got 3 votes on the Patreon platform. So he says, this question is about protests and riots. How do we know the riots aren't started by the FBI or CIA or the Proud Boys funded by the Mercer family? That would at least explain why cops don't seem to stop the rioters, but they viciously attacked protesters. The usual suspects like Fox News, Tim Pool, all that good stuff, seem to be in lockstep with their narrative, and whenever challenged by progressives, Jimmy Dore, for example, they have nothing to say.
So 2 things are true at once, unfortunately. Think about what the U.S. does. When the United States wants to go after a country, let's say Venezuela, the U.S., or even one of the Middle Eastern countries, they would put billions of dollars into people who are on the ground who could somehow put up some kind of protest or riot. Now, the moment that these groups get off the ground and they create their protests, their riots, the United States comes in to say, pro-democracy fascists. And we need to support the pro-democracy fascists. Now, it doesn't matter that those people are burning shit down, stabbing, blowing stuff up. What the U.S. would do would ignore the fact that they're doing those things and focus heavily on the fact of the government's response. So they would say, hey, that government of Venezuela is responding horribly to those protesters. Well, yeah, because those protesters are setting shit on fire and blowing shit up and beating up cops. And so when your government ends up in a similar situation where all of a sudden you have people who are legitimately protesting issues that are deep and entrenched. I mean, for fuck's sake, you have 40 million people out of a job. Why aren't more people setting shit on fire? And so you have that situation, but by the exact same token, because you have that situation, you will also have agitators that can take advantage of it. It is impossible to separate these things.
So
how do you stop? Like, you can't separate them.
But he's asking something specifically, like, how do we know that this isn't being, manipulated or being started by, some other...
All organizations will try to take advantage of any chaos that takes place, regardless of what it is.
But not necessarily initiating it.
Correct. The chaos can be legitimate because the rage is legitimate. I mean, think of it for yourself for the moment. During the time where people elected Obama, what were they electing? Hope and change. The American public believed that they were going to get a change in the typical way politics operated. They did not. Obama did just a better job at managing the system that Bush created, either in the murdering of people with those drone bombings, the starting of new wars in Libya. Right now you can buy your black slave. I kept saying $400. It's actually $500. I was wrong.
$400 for what?
A black slave in Libya.
Oh, okay.
Libya was one of the richest countries in that region. Now you can buy black slave. It's in utter chaos. And it's been that way ever since Obama destroyed it. Same thing with Syria. $500,000 lives extinguished with the billions of dollars that Obama was dumping into creating a coup in that government. As pertains to the United States, the moment that you have righteous rage, indignation, and those people rise up, you will also have people who will try to take advantage of that, derail it, or make it look bad. Just like you have some of the white people who are setting fires to things and immediately it gets blamed on blacks. Well, how do you separate that? You can't. The very fact that you have the chaos is going to be one of those things that comes along with it. The key point here, though, is what do you focus on? The right-wingers will always find some kind of reason to focus on and why this is bad or whatever else. They're perfectly okay with raiding the Capitol with guns, but this peaceful protest is an issue. Now, they would always try to take advantage of it. Our goal, our objective is to basically focus on, look, these are peaceful protests. The overwhelming majority are peaceful. There's always going to be a probability of people setting shit on fire. And so it doesn't get me anywhere to bellyache what I already know is just going to be a natural outcome. No, the reality of it is these people are pissed off. That's your question. Are they pissed off? And are they legitimately pissed off? And if they are, then it makes all the sense in the world for them to being in the streets. Obama gave 95% of the income to the top 1%.
Now,
I would have said
set
stuff on fire
riots
then.
as well? That's why people are protesting,
yes.
But you're saying the rioters
I'm saying
too.
both.
Okay.
I'm saying, like, should there be an appropriate response to killing by a cop? And why does society... I mean, this gets into whole questions of right and wrong, right? Like, if I show you an article, and the article says the latest scientists say we're too late for climate change, that it's too late, our society is not paying attention to it, is not doing anything about it, and every man, woman, and child is going to die on this planet would that justify you setting bombs in order to get a point across that, hey, this is a problem? Yeah. I mean, understand what I'm asking, right? It's complicated. I mean, you're basically, because your problem is something is going to take place in the future. How fervently do I believe it? If I believe that somebody was going to break into the house and kill 5 people when I murdered this one person to prevent that, well, it's immediate. Yeah, you prevent the thing. But what about over the course of, let's say, in 10 years it happens?
Yeah, if it's not something tangible.
All
that you
sorts
can't
of stuff.
really
It's like, well, what
foresee
happens if something intervenes? What happens if some kind of stuff? That
Not
gets a little
guaranteed.
dicey. Right. But at the same token, you can make a case that you would justify it based on the level of disaster that's coming forward. That's what people are confronted with. Like, you have a society that is grotesquely unfair. Like, think of the violence that takes place, just absolute violence of not having access to your needs. That's horrendous. Living on the street, not having access to health, those things are horrible. And those people accept that silent. Well, sometimes it's not all that's silent. And sometimes that stuff explodes. That's kind of why I say it doesn't behoove me to bellyache and shake my fingers at, or wring my hands at something that I find to be just infinitely rational to take place based on the chaos and inequality of the system itself. Do I like it? I don't want any innocent person to get hurt.
Right.
Just as a flat fact. But is it expected? Yes. Is it some of them COINTELPRO where FBI agents would be trying to infiltrate in order to make it? Yes, that's true. Will there be Proud Boys and racists getting involved trying to...
Probably.
Of course. But is that the predominance of the protests? No. And, as such, should they be supported? Yes.
Okay, now, got a couple more super chats to go through.
Go for it.
Mana Talk says, I love the super chat Star Trek graphics. He says they're epic, and he said he's donating just to see it. So thank you, Mana Talk,
I think
for
there are
that.
like 3 of them on there.
Yeah.
I think the highest donation gets a different graphic, if I'm not mistaken.
based on your denomination.
Yeah. That's funny.
Prince Worrell wanted a live shout out and said he's watching live from Trinidad. So
I've never been. Fucking A, man. Right on.
Prince Worrell was the name on that one. And so let me go back. Mana Talk, the next super chat, he says, if Howard Hawkins continues his mini DNC processes with mini, M-I-N-I, DNC processes within the Green Party and becomes their GP POTUS candidate, then the Green Party will disappear.
Really? You think it's that bad? I mean, the Green Party is already almost invisible.
Well, that's what somebody was saying, that they're not really
I don't know how they're going to disappear anymore. Right. I would say the overwhelming majority of the public is not going to have any clue what Howie Hawkins is doing or even who Howie Hawkins is. And I don't mean that to be insulting. I just mean...
It's just factual.
Yeah, we are in the weeds in a way that the American public is not. And you only need to do that just by walking into...
I think most people that I would ask in my life that ask, I can't really even give you like full rundown.
Walking in random 7-Eleven and be like, hey, do you know who Howie Hawkins is? Like, who the fuck are you talking about? Get the fuck out of here.
Sounds like a radio personality.
Right, it does, right? It does. So those people aren't necessarily going to know what it is. I don't know if it matters one way or the other. I do wish the Green Party was more. God knows I do, because we need something else as an alternative, because the way we have it now, we are cash. I mean, this poll sums it up better than anything else.
Wait, I got more super chats.
Okay, but look at this real quick. 70% of people who are voting for Trump are voting for Trump or voting for him because they love Trump, pro-Trump. 37% of the people who are voting for Biden are voting for Biden because they love Biden.
No, they're not voting for Biden. They're voting against Trump.
60%.
We knew that.
I know, but that number is at 60.
Of course, I was riding the other day to this grocery store, and I saw some Biden signs up in somebody's yard.
Oh, at 37%?
I don't know if they're 37 or 60, but I guess you could be 60 and still put a sign up.
37.
You could be voting against Trump.
Yeah, that's true.
And still put a sign up.
That's true. But, I mean, just the fact, like, you have nowhere else to go. That's basically what that means.
All right. Let me get these super chats out the way. Let me go to the next topic. Trying to be fine says, vote heard is not a party. It's the anti-party. There are no parties in the Constitution. I got a couple more. Mana Talk says, we've been conditioned to believe that in order to vote, we must have a party banner and abide by that party's corp stooge. Wrong. Jesse Ventura, write me in ballots.
Yeah.
On Jimmy Dore.
it's hard to get people out of the mindset that, like, when I tell people, pull yourself out of the political space and stand under the banner of policy, I realize that that's a difficult argument for people to realize or understand, because in their heads, does a ham sandwich have a D on it? Then fine, it's going to get my vote. Despite the fact that the guy beside the ham sandwich with the D on it is trying to give you Medicare for all. Like, it's that weird
A lot of people
stuff.
don't even do the research to figure out the platforms and the policies and the standpoint. They're just
Who's my
blue
normal
no matter
person?
who, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that
Blue no matter
exactly
who.
that? All right, so Wesley Walker, thank you for the super chat. He didn't say anything, but he did put the Spock hand up. So thank you, Wesley Walker. Adam Bell says, decay to fascism. Decay to fascism near. Violence is justified but useless, like fighting climate change. Subverting opposition unnecessary. Just manufacture consent.
A good friend
Thank you,
who
Adam.
disapproves but understands. Basically. It's like, I get why you did that. I kind of disapprove of it, but I get it. So fair enough. It's that thing. It's your friend tells you they've done something ghastly.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, you shouldn't have did that, but fair enough.
I give you a pass.
I give you a pass on that. God, what were we watching? Oh, I know what it was. We were talking about, I think this was years ago, where we were watching a vampire thing where the kid, his mom turned into a vampire and killed the entire town. And he comes back and he kills his mom. And I'm like, oh, no.
No, that was the one with the zombie. Where his mom, but he didn't kill his mom.
He killed his mom.
I thought he locked his mom up.
No, I thought he killed his mom.
It was a zombie flick, and his mom turned into a zombie.
And my response was, that's
and was
horrendous.
killing people, and I thought he didn't kill his mom.
I thought he killed his mom, and my response
but
was,
Jamal
that's
was
horrendous.
like, I ain't killing my mom.
I ain't killing
And
my
I was
mom over
like,
that.
if I go out and come back and my mom is chewing on people and there's dead bodies, we don't have to
chain
have
her
a
up in the basement.
conversation.
You chain her up in the basement. You have a talk.
And feed her humans.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, you have a talk.
You're gonna keep her alive, so you're gonna feed her.
You have to talk to her first.
She's a zombie. What the fuck are y'all talking about?
But see, the mom in that situation hadn't lost her mental faculties.
Yes, she was.
I don't
she
remember
was
if
eating
lost
people.
her mental faculties. Well,
I can't
eating
remember the name
people
of that
and losing your
movie.
mental faculties are different. Eating people just means you're hungry.
Okay, no, I mean like she was like completely off the rails, like uncontrollable, which is why he killed her. I thought he did lock her up.
I think that's, you have a strong conversation.
Zoc says she's not your mother anymore.
It
At
depends.
that point,
Like, say for example, it's a vampire. Say it's a vampire.
no, we're talking about this specific example.
I know, but
I don't want
you're
to imagine
saying
for
just
the moment.
because she's eating people, that doesn't mean. I'm just like, say for the moment that she's a vampire, something like on Supernatural or like on the originals or Vampire
I
Diaries.
know what vampires are.
Bloodthirsty,
You got to give me an example. In
kills
an
human
example.
beings, or so like True Blood, like Bill Compton.
In an example.
Now, kills all of these people and everything else, but it's still your mom. She's still there. You know,
Now that is a little different. Zombies and vampires are different.
zombies
because
are dead.
Zombies are dead,
And vampires are
their
undead.
sole
Right.
motivation in life is to eat brains.
But say for the moment, it's a
I don't
vampire.
want-
I mean, because vampires might have 100 bodies on their
Yes, Nico.
queue. Do you still offer?
So could a zombie.
Yeah. But a zombie is not like consciously aware. A vampire is. Like, you can make an argument that a vampire is worse.
Well, we had this conversation the other day because my thing was I feel like for vampires, they have to drink blood.
But they don't have to kill.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. So it's kind of like, you know, it's necessary to stay alive, but like you said, they don't have to kill hundreds of people.
Yeah, but the problem
Especially
is,
like if they're in the originals and they could compel people
Well-
to just give them some blood and going. Sorry if we are
so
completely
yeah,
off
nay.
topic.
So wait a minute. So yes and no. If you're
Paul
part
said,
of the
"What
origi-
about a werewolf zombie?"
if you're part of the originals, and I've thought greatly about this because the originals and Vampire Diaries does a really good job. I know I'm thinking about imaginary things. I hate to tell you this, your government in and of itself is imaginary. So fuck
Kilo
off.
said, "Lock her in the basement, feed her the politicians."
Right.
Go ahead.
right. Peter Politician. If you're in Vampire Diaries, they do a really good job in getting across what the bloodlust is. Because,
It's like uncontrollable. Like you want to kill they kill family when they turn.
Think about you're in the middle of sex, you're about to, man or woman, have your orgasm, and somebody says stop. That's bloodlust. Like, it's... No, I'm trying to give an example that everybody can get, right? That thing of that urge, that thing. That's why they end up killing people and then are so remorseful. Like, oh, God, I can't believe I killed them. Like, even, like, Elijah on the originals, when he killed that woman, he was in love with the woman, and he just couldn't stop. He was like, oh, wow, oh, my God, look at what I've done. He's, like, flipping out. Because in the moment, it's, like, so intense that, like, oh, God, it tastes so good. It's, like, this kind of religious fervor. So, if you're dealing with that shit, you can kind of excuse...
How did we get
and
here?
Murdering people? I mean...
Maggie said, my daughter didn't speak to me for months because I was going to vote for Trump. I know I'd be dead. I guess, too, this is why you should have good relationships with your children, because when shit hits the fan, you know, like, my mom talks about, like, are we going to put her in a home? But, like, if you turn into a zombie, you know...
I gotta admit, a zombie is different.
Our history
Because you can't have a conversation
is going to play
with
a role on whether or not I lock you up in the basement and feed you to some politicians, or, you know, do we take you out?
Now, see, in Vampire Diaries, they dealt with this one, too. Family member that became a vampire. And because they have body counts. Like, that's the rub. Like, the wild part about those shows with vampires is that I don't think people entirely get how wild it is. Like, under normal circumstances, if you were talking to somebody and that person said they killed 10 people, what would your response be?
What the fuck?
Klaus killed
Why aren't you in jail?
hundreds of thousands. And some of these other vampires killed thousands. He's lived for 1,000 years. These guys have been murdering entire towns. He kills hundreds of thousands of people.
Okay.
I guess I'm saying, let's just say a regular vampire, though. You're still talking about like 10, 20, 30 people that they've killed over the course of their careers.
Wait. What is the point we're trying to make on this topic?
I'm making a point that in engaging that, it's hard to really get your head around dealing with somebody that has killed a large number of people and that can flip on a dime and kill you because you're food to them. We don't entirely get that. Even if we were dealing with somebody who's a murderer, we'd be like, if they kill one person, we'd be like, hell, if they beat the shit out of a guy. Like, if we saw somebody just get to beat the shit out of him and they turn around and talk to you and say, hey, everything okay? It's like, yeah, everything all right. Get the fuck out of here. Like, it's hard for us to grasp that level of weirdness. Yeah, I don't remember the entire topic that we were getting on.
I don't know either. Bob says he thought Grimm was more interesting than those teen vampire shows.
No way!
I watched Grimm. I kind of lost interest, and then it seemed like they got lazy towards the finale, and it was like, this is uneventful.
It doesn't compare. The originals. Dark.
Ryan says,
It's
how
so
many
dark.
people did Obama drone bomb?
Right, thousands.
There you go.
Thousands. And people give them a pass. They act like it's nothing.
Yeah, we're all over the place. Like, people like, how did we get here? My phone died. Now we're talking about zombies. Because that's how we roll on Progressive Soapbox.
To give you the notion of how
That's how
dark
Jamal rolls.
the originals is. Darkness. Darkness in a way that the Grimm...
Welcome
if
to
Grimm
my life.
approached anybody on the originals, he would have gotten eaten alive. That's how dark those shows are. Damon would have eaten
Not the
him.
original. He couldn't beat, like, the originals, but he could beat some other vampires. He could beat some vampires.
The weakest of the batch. The weakest.
You never even watched Grimm.
In fact, the situations that
Just
Grimm...
disrespectful.
The situations that Grimm is put in, he could not fathom how dark it gets. Like, for example, in one of the situations...
No more examples!
In one of the cases of the originals where these guys were in this kind of back and forth, they locked a vampire in a tomb and dropped it into the bottom of the ocean and just forgot the results. They didn't even care where it was. They just paid somebody to drop this in the middle of the ocean. The vampire was alive, drowned over and over and over again in perpetuity. Forever. Think about that. Think about the level of pain. Think about how fucked up that is. His sister,
I would like to get $1 for every time you say, think about that, or imagine for the moment.
Because I try to get people to process what that means.
Think for the moment.
His sister tried to create this kind of spell to, like, pull his mind out of the situation. And in the moment where it started to crumble, he started coughing up water and just... and he did that in the darkness forever. Grimm has no idea. Klaus, who lived for 1,000 years, his mom was punished by watching all of the murders and the massacres that he did for 1,000 years. Klaus had a dagger put into him that was by Papa Shango, or whatever his name is, to have infinite pain, and just left him there as long as they wanted in perpetuity. Like, I'm trying to make the point that Grimm doesn't compare with the level of chaos and fucking damage and pain that people come across. He would get eaten in the first episode. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at.
All right.
The originals is fucking awesome. That's what I meant.
We're gonna move on from that.
Somebody gonna be like, "Fuck you, man! Grimm's awesome."
And First of Dissent says, "I'm an MMT guy." We're gonna get back to life, back to reality. Says, "I'm an MMT guy and heard recently that Steph Kelton was working with Biden, and it has me considering at least listening. Does this matter to you at all?"
I haven't heard that Stephanie Kelton was working with him.
Anything like that.
Yeah, I haven't heard it with him. I mean, look.
And to what end?
If 88% of Democrats say we want Medicare for all, and you have 70% of the population say we want Medicare for all, and the majority of the population say we want you to eliminate all student debt, makes universities free of tuition, and they say we want a wealth tax, and we want you to expand Social Security, and Joe Biden says fuck all on all of those things, he can talk to anybody he wants. I don't mean to sound brutal. He can talk to them about whatever he wants.
I mean, what are you going to do
Right.
about it? Like, what's coming out of
You can have all
that?
sorts of conversations. My concern is, it's a very basic question. Do you support X or Y or not? That's where I am. Like, I don't care who Biden talks to. And I haven't heard him talking about Stephanie Kelton. If I heard Sanders was talking to Kelton, that's different because Sanders is, his policies. But until Biden credibly and Pelosi's of the world are credibly on board for those policies, I have nothing to say. I feel you. I don't blame anybody for who they're voting for. Don't misunderstand me. So this is not a shooting the voter. But from my standpoint, the public has all of these wants, and the political instrument is basically telling it to go fuck itself. And my response to the political instrument telling me to go fuck myself is, okay, here's my vote. Yeah, fuck that. I think that sets a horrendous precedent. And it belies this point. People really do need to stand out the political space and fight for the policies that they want. And until it gets to that point where they realize, oh, wow, we've lost the public and we can lose this race in perpetuity, nothing will fundamentally change. Yeah. So I feel you, but there's a video of...
Wait.
Oh, go ahead.
Are you going to the next one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I'll wait. Go ahead.
There's a video surfacing of Rayshard Brooks just before the officer and Rayshard went into fuckery.
Now this is
in Atlanta. Right. This is in Atlanta where he got shot. So basically, Rayshard Brooks fell asleep in a parking lot, witness parking lot. Cops were called, and they sat there and talked apparently for like an hour, or hour and a half, and somewhere along the way, when the cop tried to take him to jail, Rayshard breaks away, gets into a scuffle, takes the cop's taser, runs, turns and fires on the cop as he's in stride. The cop fires his gun, killing him. Now, Rayshard only has a taser, so he had no capacity to kill the cop while he was running. The chief of police and the officer basically were fired or resigned, however you want to call it.
Yeah, chief of police resigned right away.
He resigned immediately within 24 hours. The other cop was fired almost immediately. Now, the wild part about this is, under normal circumstances,
nothing would have happened.
This is a clean shoot. I mean, you had a situation where a guy reached for the gun.
Maximum justice.
Maximum justice. It's like, the murdering. It's like a clean murder. So they would have basically said he reached for his gun. He got in a fight with a cop. That's a murderable offense. And nobody would have said a word about it. But not now. This is a Me Too moment for this particular issue. I want to show you the video in the beginning. Oftentimes, for this video yesterday, I kept saying there were no other options. You couldn't give the guy a ticket and take him home. You couldn't just let the guy give him a ticket and leave him or something. Like, you couldn't give him a ticket and leave him to his devices. Did it really have to go to we're taking you to jail? And that's the kind of point I'm getting at. We have 5% of the world's population and 25% in our jails. At which point do we say our jails are full enough? In this case, that cop didn't want to hear anything other options. The cop just was like, I'm taking you to jail. You failed the sobriety test.
Now, this is in line with what Jared Watson, I just wanted to say that this was a topic suggestion presented by Jared Watson on the Patreon platform. Mm-hmm. He wants you to speak on that and exactly what we're talking about right now. What do you think about the mayor's resigning, the mayor's response and the police chief resigning? Because the police chief resigned and the mayor called for the officer to be fired, right? Correct?
Yeah, the officer's fired. It's performative.
Yeah.
I don't mean, and don't misunderstand me. There's value in your political system acknowledging We got to do something about this.
Also, to be a little pessimistic, because this was a little bit of my thought too. One Post Daily points out, resign means she got her retirement or her pension without losing anything really but the job.
Yeah.
Because like in the time of these protests, it's like, oh shit, something happened. I'm gone. Let me get out now.
Yeah.
Before it turns ugly. Let me just go ahead and resign. So
and right there, and that's what it was.
Right.
They were basically, your political system wanted to try to get ahead of people burning shit down. The wild part about this though is this one is grayer. Like, this is not as clean as a man is subdued, a man is not moving, a man is handcuffed, and you're sitting on his throat for 9 minutes. This is a man gets into a fight, a man grabs the taser, a man, you know. This one is a little grayer. And I got to be honest, if I put 70%, or let's say if I put 1,000 people in that situation, 70% would have killed him.
I would say 70%, if not more, would have shot.
Yeah. Right. I mean,
and that was my thing was, and I know like Biden said this, so I hate to
leg.
fucking repeat it.
But nobody does.
But
you can't do that.
Why do they shoot and it has to end in death? And
Because
I'm like, I watch TV shows.
They're
and
trained.
Like, they shoot them in the leg.
No,
I know that, and that's the point that I'm trying to get to is taking someone's life should be like the ultimate last resort. You know, if your life is in grave danger, or if someone else's life is in grave danger, should you shoot to kill? But like when we see somebody getting shot, they're shot in the back and they're shot 6 times. It's not something where I wanted to detain him.
Well, so
I shot him in the leg, or I did something to detain him, like taser. I needed to put this thing down. So I shot him 6 times, or I shot him in the back, or I held him down until he stopped moving. It's a different mentality. And my thing is that it definitely needs to be a mentality of, well, my job as the police is not to put anybody down. It's not to serve justice. It is to detain this person so they can go to court. And, you know, the justice system determines whatever their penalty should be. But that's not...
Yeah, if the judge is not going to call it, for execution, I don't want the cop to do that.
That's not their mindset.
No, but sympathy for the devil for a moment. If indeed I'm right, and if indeed 70% of the people in this situation, meaning authority issues, a cop, he reached for my weapon, he potentially reached for my gun, he takes off running, we're in this mindset of fight or flight, he turns around and aims something at me, I pull my weapon, I tell him to stop, he refuses to stop, I shoot him, bang, bang, I put him down. Under normal circumstances, I would look at that and be like, oh, God, dude, you shouldn't do that. Yeah. And I would probably look at this and say, okay, well, if 70% of the population ends up in that situation, can I be entirely pissed off at the cop in the same way I could be pissed off at somebody who murdered Floyd? And I end up going, I can't. As much as I find this situation disgusting, I find the problem is that he is trained. And all of these people, to some degree, are trained to do exactly what he did. That guy went after me and my weapon. That's a murderable offense. I told him to stop. He refused to stop. I told him to stop running. He refused to stop running. He turned the weapon on me. I told him to stop turning the weapon on me. He fired his weapon on me. I fired mine. He leaves that thinking to himself, God damn it, why did he fucking fire the weapon on me? Knowing all hell is going to break loose in the middle of the situation. In his head, the cop's head, this may not have been a racial issue. I'm just saying, I'm going to show you the video.
Not necessarily.
This cop is being a dick because that's how cops act.
Right.
And the cop didn't have to be a dick, and this didn't have to escalate. But the moment that he tries to take them to jail, it escalates. Now, it's in with the cop's purview to take him to jail, unfortunately. So Rayshard fighting on that, it's like, oh, don't do that. Like, because the moment I see that, I'm like, you're not going home tonight. I don't want to see anything else. You could block off that video to me. You could say, I'm not going to show you the end of this video. No, he's not going home. Which means that your chances of leaving that situation alive is small. Especially when you have other officers that are around that are also going to respond in force when they see one of their own potentially being shot at. This is horrendous. Your society trains people to do this. To make my wife's point, they're not trained to shoot in the leg because the objective is for them to go home at night. Right. I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6, is what one officer said. Let me show you the video leading up to this.
I haven't seen it, but it has a graphic warning. So if this isn't your cup of tea, go ahead and turn it off, and we'll let you know when the video is over.
This I can't blame nothing on her. It was my decision. I said, hey, if she can't get her order together, and I'm not feeling uptight right now, I should park right here. Go to sleep. I'm not feeling, I'm just not feeling right.
What do you mean you're not feeling right?
Do
you think maybe that you had too much to drink and you realized that you shouldn't drive, so you parked?
I mean...
Would that be accurate to say?
Yes, sir. Mr. Roth, yes.
All right, so your girlfriend dropped you off, you got into the car, you backed out, you pulled up, and you're like, damn, I'm too drunk to drive. And so you pull back into the parking spot and park, right?
I call her like, babe.
Oh, is that accurate?
If it's a couple moments I got on the phone with her.
Yeah.
I'm like, babe, hey, damn, you want number one or number two or?
But
she's like,
would you agree?
You take care of that. You're a man. You figure out what we're going to eat tonight.
All right. Let's move past that. Would you agree that you've had too much to drink to drive?
I mean, I can focus, Mr. Ross. I can focus.
Would you agree that you've had too much to drink to drive?
I haven't had, to the point where I can't focus.
Okay.
I was a little tired ahead of the day because we just came from North Carolina.
Do you think that you're safe to operate a vehicle right
Absolutely,
now?
Mr. Ross.
And how much have you had to drink?
I had 1.5 margaritas, Mr. Ross.
1.5 margaritas?
Yes, sir.
Margaritas?
Yes.
Have you had anything else today? Any other type of drink?
No, sir.
You haven't had any daiquiris?
I haven't had no daiquiri. I had 1.5 little small cups of margarita, but I'm up now. Y'all got me up with this.
Got you up.
Now, I see this video, and I think to myself, all right, the guy's wasted.
Yeah.
He's not angry. He's not fighting. He's not bitter.
Okay, so this is like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, and if I'm a cop, do I need to be a dick? Now, the cop is just trying to affirm what's taking place because he wants to,
right.
get the charges in. But in this moment, you're dealing with a person who's not being aggressive. He's not being,
right.
He's talking to you, and he's like, look, he's clearly wasted.
Stefan says sleeping and recovering instead of driving
is a rational act.
Is the right move. And this cop just fucking with this guy.
I wrote down rational action. The cop's like, so you pulled over because you didn't want to drive, right?
You realized you had been drinking,
He's
so
like,
you pulled over.
Yes, that's because I didn't want to drive on the street. Yes, it's a rational act. Why are you fucking with him? Let's keep going. I mean, I guess to me, look, I know cops will fuck with this guy. I know cops.
And somebody said this is where you stop commenting because, like Fred Edwards said, he says, "Listen to this bullshit. Would you agree you're too drunk to drive?" Like he's trying to get him to say, I was too drunk to drive.
Right. He clearly is.
Right. That's what Stefan said. Never say shit to the police.
Right. Don't have this conversation. You talked to him for an hour. You've implicated yourself.
No.
Wasted.
Now you've told all this.
Right.
I've had 2.5 or 1.5 margaritas.
But beyond all of that, he's calm. He's going home tonight.
Yeah.
And at this point, the cop is in charge of the situation. And this cop has all sorts of ways of dealing with this. I can give you a ticket. I can deal with this in a more jovial way.
And somebody said if he was white, he'd have given him a ride home.
Yes.
And offered him a tow. I mean,
and this conversation would have been probably far more jovial.
Right.
Like, you've had it right much tonight, sir, haven't you?
Let me help you get home.
Right. Let me take you back to your car. Whatever.
You want to get home, but you're not in a state that you can drive. I respect the fact that you didn't want to kill somebody, so you pulled over to sober up. Let me help you get home, and we'll bring you back, or can you bring somebody to come get your car in the morning?
I've never had a cop, white cop, or a cop at all, give me a warning.
I have.
I've never had one. Like, the way they regard black men is just different. So let's watch the rest. I mean, this goes to fuckery at some point, oddly enough.
I'm up now.
Hey, will you take a preliminary breath test for me?
What's that?
It's a little handheld machine. I have you blow into it, and that lets me know if you're positive or negative for the presence of alcohol in your breath.
I've been drinking.
Okay.
I do say that.
Okay.
But was there. I said, babe, go ahead. I'm cool. Here's the money for the blow-up bed tomorrow. Here's the money for, to enjoy herself tomorrow. your bed tomorrow. Here's the money for, to enjoy herself tomorrow. Just, give me a burger or something. Just take me home. I'm ready to go.
So you had about 1.5 drinks, but you don't remember what kind of drinks they were?
No, sir.
All right.
I really don't, Mr. All
right. I think you've had too much to drink to be driving. Put your hands behind your back for me. Here, put your hands behind your back. Hey, stop fighting. You're going to get tased. Stop.
Mr. Ross.
Stop.
Come on, man.
Stop. You're going to get tased.
Mr. Ross.
Hands off the fucking taser. Hands off the taser. Hands off the taser.
This goes to fuckery, clearly.
From 0 to 100
yeah,
in 15
almost in a
seconds.
split second. Do you really have to take the guy to jail? I mean, at one point, he's pointing to his car. He said, "Look, I can just walk. My car's right there. I can walk home from here if I need to walk home from here." And the cop is like, "No, we're not having that conversation. I'm taking you to jail." And I don't know why he didn't necessarily want to go to jail. I think that's a horrible reaction to take. By the same token, do we have to kill him? You have a taser. I get it. It's a split-second act. And every bit of your training and every bit of your feelings of authority say, I am justified in using maximum justice in this moment. And look, maybe you are on a human level, especially if the overwhelming majority of people in that situation would do the same thing. But that almost, in an odd way, doesn't matter. That person no longer has a life. This is not the best version of this man. Granted. But still, I'm bothered by him losing his life in this way.
And somebody also pointed out the fact that he didn't have to do the breathalyzer because he wasn't operating a vehicle.
Well, at that moment, he wasn't. I mean, he was asleep in his car. I think the thing is, it's like, if the guy gives you, if there's another option than jail, can you have a bias towards that? Like, because, look, whatever you want to think of his behavior in this moment, say for the moment the cop said, I'm going to give you a ticket and let you walk home. Does this happen? No, it doesn't. I mean, I guess I'm looking at this from the standpoint of, how do we stop this from happening? That's what I'm saying. And whites would look at this and say, well, that Negro shouldn't have behaved that way. Okay, fair enough. But you also have to look at it and say, well, that cop didn't have to do that either.
Point.
Right.
I mean, I know that that's making the argument of the cop should have given him a pass. But technically, the question is, a pass on what? Being drunk and disorderly? Because he wasn't driving. He wasn't disorderly. It wasn't like a DUI because he wasn't driving.
And it's not giving him a pass. I'm saying give the guy a ticket for being drunk.
Right.
If you want to do that. Like, I guess I'm saying, I'm tired of this notion that the only thing that the cop can do
is shoot somebody.
Is shoot, beat, kill, or take to jail. And that there has to be something that's a little bit more in policing. If a white person would have gotten a ticket and drove home, I would like the same courtesy for a black person. Hell, even if you don't drive him home, even if you just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Even if you be a dick to him, he's like, sir, you realize you shouldn't be out here like this. Get the fuck out of here. Tough love. Even if you want to do that, I just don't like this, I'm taking you to jail. And he's like, but you could let me walk home from here. The car's right there, et cetera, et cetera. I don't like it getting to this point. It just always seems to be an escalation. And I don't think the jail thing is the first thing. But again, the moment that the scuffle happens, it's like, oh God, he's dead. That's my thought. I mean, I don't know a situation where he gets out of that alive. Even if he's running away, the cop is in hero mode. I'm taking him down. Taking him down. Clean murder. Clean murder. That video is difficult to watch.
We're not going to watch it to the end.
I'm not watching that video. I've already watched it.
Okay.
I mean, I've watched too much of that footage. I've watched the footage on Wendy's, and I've watched the rest of the
thing that
footage.
says, too, I didn't realize he was actually shot 3 times.
Yeah.
And it really is the mentality of, I have to put this person down.
I put him down.
Like you say, it's us, it's him or me.
They're
kind
trained
of mentality.
in the mentality of, in order for you to get home tonight, you have to be willing to maximum justice. Everything out to get you. Everything is a threat. And everything is not a threat. The guy wasn't a threat. That threat didn't take place until the escalation happened. The escalation being, I'm taking you to jail. Whether or not he was justified in taking them to jail is secondary to the fact that the escalation happened the moment you tried to take him to jail.
What was the arrest for?
Being drunk. I don't know what else he could have, he wasn't driving. I mean, or maybe you could say, well, you were behind your wheel at the time of
technically,
being wasted.
I
So
mean,
that
you
type
were
of stuff.
in the car, but
Yeah.
was he driving? It's controversial, but...
So we found...
Wait, let me do
go
my
ahead.
spiel.
Go for it.
Okay, so we have about 255 people here.
That's not bad, consider because Door, I think, is going on at the same time. So fucking A.
Okay.
That's not bad.
So it's fair game for you to interrupt this time.
A little bit.
Okay. All right. So, if you didn't hear the first time, this is the weekly contributor appreciation show. It's typically on Monday. Sometimes we have to push it to. It's typically on Sunday. Sometimes, like this week, we have to push it to Monday, depending on what's going on in the world. But welcome. If you are enjoying the content so far, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. If you are not subscribed, make sure that you do that. Also, we started the video off talking about how Jamal's notifications are not coming through. YouTube is kind of screwing him over, but needless to say, or not needless to say, nonetheless, anyways, still hit the notification icon because sometimes they'll come through. And that's also just to reiterate why we tell people to give the video a thumbs up, because it helps YouTube's algorithm let people know when we are live so more people can join in on the stream. So always, if you're enjoying the content, if you find yourself chatting, give the video a thumbs up. But again, this video is for everybody who supports the channel, all the subscribers, everybody who gives through the Patreon platform. And so we put a post on that platform every week and ask for topic suggestions. We pull today's content from those topic suggestions, and here we are. So do you want me to do...
Super chat. Let's get a few out the way.
Well, I think I'm actually all caught up on the super chats, but I think I want to jump to another one of these because I'm not going to be on here.
Right here. So... earlier today, you guys heard a conversation on political misfits with Dr. Daddy Cherie. I thought, just to be honest with you, that the conversation went well. Dr. Cherie did not. Now, I like her, and I really hope she decides to come back. But I disagreed with her on something that she was saying because I thought it was utterly, entirely ludicrous, not to mention baseless, having no basis in reality despite the fact she's a scientist. I don't know if it was because I had the temerity to do so. Who's this mofo and why is he questioning me? But there's some things that you question because of logical interactions that the person has to explain regardless of what they are. If I give you an example of a ship and I say the people on the ship who had COVID-19 of a military ship, a small percentage got ill, and I somehow try to make that as a correlation to the American public, I'm going to think you are insane. The reason I'm going to think you're insane because you can't compare a ship of people who are all healthy and get a tiny percentage to say, see, this is not as bad as we thought it was, considering that your main population has people who are older, and people who are older are far more susceptible, people who are in prisons, people who have some kind of illness associated with them, let's say diabetes or heart disease. And you have people in society that just because those people are asymptomatic doesn't necessarily mean that those people won't affect the people who are more susceptible. This is a new report that just came out by the CDC. Death rates are 12 times higher for COVID-19 patients with chronic illness, according to the CDC report. 12 times higher. Now, if we're going to take a policy that we're going to open up the economy, we're basically saying let the weak die off. We have surges that are taking place in multiple states. I mean, for God's sake, we're seeing record numbers of hospitalizations, not to mention record numbers of infections. Florida, Texas, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California,
Can we see this?
North Carolina, Oklahoma, South Carolina, all have record number of cases. And now that you see this thing that says 12 times the rate, whether the people are asymptomatic or not, if they pass that to somebody who is ill or who has a pre-existing condition, you have a good chance of killing those people. Now, considering you have 110,000 people that are dead in the United States, that number is only going up. They're opening the economy, which is creating a spike, and in some of these cases, maximizing the potentials of the hospital. For example, in South Carolina, we have like 69% capacity of the hospitals filled in some areas. if those hospitals get to the point of being overflow of capacity, those hospitals will not be able to deal with anything because they would just be full of people who are COVID-19. That's the worst case scenario that we were trying to stave off.
Now, Adam Bell argues.
Go for it.
Oh, shit, where did it go? Flattening the curve has been accomplished. He
Yes.
says the number of total cases was never going to be decreased.
That's not true. I mean, there are two things.
Hospital capacity is not a danger of overflowing at this point.
Well, it depends on where you are. Just as a flat fact. I mean, if you're talking about Maryland, no. If you're talking about areas of South Carolina,
Probably New
yes.
York, you know.
Or in areas of New York, the answer becomes yes. I mean, it really does depend on where you are in regards to the spots where this is flaring up. In regards to flattening the curve, look, you have two things that are taking place. You have the number of people who are being tested has gone up. And so some people would argue, well, you're seeing more infection cases because more testing is being done, so you can kind of get more people. It's not necessarily translates to a material difference in regards to on the ground. You're just testing more people. The problem is, again, you're seeing an increase in hospitalizations in some of these places. Whether or not all of them are to capacity, the fact is some places are getting to the point where there's 70% capacity, which means that there are material differences that are taking place on the ground. It's not just entirely the testing. Look, the catch becomes what happens, right? If the curve continues to flatten, where many of the people who are working become asymptomatic or aren't necessarily passing it, or for the most part, you have this kind of herd immunity, which hasn't necessarily shown itself to be in effect yet, because, again, viruses mutate, they're not shutting down the economy again. So we are going to get to see, in real-world lab experiment terms, on what happens when you keep this open and whether or not there will be a second surge of COVID-19. I will say this. If you do get a second surge and you don't shut down the economy, oh, hell, it's going to break loose. You ever have millions of people on the streets? That is only going to get, 40 million people are out of a job. That's a lot of tinder to get out there on the streets. I don't mean the sexy, orgy tinder. I mean the, kind of lighting a fire tinder. Not to mention the evictions and everything else that are coming up. Oh, man. Like, your government has turned a tenure, both parties, to the chaos and the havoc that's out there on the streets at this point. And the catch becomes, what happens? Is there a broader assault on the system by the people who are out there? And honestly, if you have millions of people who lose their homes, is that worth setting stuff on fire? Like, think of the absolute impersonal violence associated with having a person that's homeless, and you and a large group of you recognize that this is a direct result of the policies that your government took. Is it justified? Yeah, it's justified. Would it necessarily get what you want to accomplish? Maybe not. It's, we're stuck in this kind of weird reality box where things can be true while at the same token not necessarily productive. But that's where we're at. I just wanted to point out the COVID-19 thing, don't believe the hype that this is not necessarily a big deal or that it's just kind of past. It may be diminished. And if you're looking at the numbers each month of the people who are dying, it may be diminished, but it has not gone anywhere. And I swear, the moment that you reopen this economy, if that goes up too fast, even by a few weeks, you will see those numbers spike.
All right, let me do this last one.
Go for it.
There are some Patreon submissions that we're not going to do today just because they require you to watch a couple of videos and do a little bit more research. So if you're like, my topic didn't get read, I just want to let you know why. But Kay Arnold, thank you for the Patreon topic suggestion, says, if Trump loses in November, he still owns a third of the GOP voter base. And from his Twitter account, he'll decide which GOP candidates are good by who will travel to Trump Tower to kiss the ring. It's going to be the thing that diminishes the GOP long term.
You think so? See, to me, the further the Democratic Party moved to the right and the less accountability that's in the process, the worse the Republican get, because the Democratic Party's moved further to the right. And the worse the Republican get, the more emphasis is put on this notion of you have nowhere else to go. Say for the moment, Donald Trump does win. And after 4 years, the person who's running is Ted Cruz. And Hillary Clinton, it's her turn, decides to run again. And let's say she takes it. They're going to tell you, you got to vote for Hillary Clinton. You have to. You don't have a choice. Ted Cruz is a monster. Same thing with Tom Cotton. Tom Cotton, who wrote that thing in the New York Times that freaked everybody out because he was saying, the military must be on home soil. That guy, he can run for office. And what would they say? That guy's a monster. You got to vote for whoever random hack of a Democrat that we've coughed up. Like, there needs to be a day of reckoning to that process. And at this point, I don't think there is one because, again, the worse the Republican gets, the worse the Democrat gets. And the better the stronger the drive to saying, you have nowhere else to go. Mm-hmm. I don't think. Look, we have problems in this country that are not dealt with in the political space, and the question, I think, the $1,000 question that's on everyone's mind is how do you get your political instrument to start being in tune with the public again? And until that happens, you get none of what you want. That I think you must understand what I mean by that and how weird and profound that is. Your politics, your political body that is supposed to represent philosophically the welfare of the nation basically only represents its own. It assumes that you politically have nowhere else to go and they can be least worse. Basically, both parties being captured by corporate interests. And because they are least worse, they make the pragmatic argument, narrow focus pragmatism, Supreme Court. Nowhere else to go. The guy's a monster. Every 4 years, they jump out the woodwork to tell you the exact same thing. They'll even tell you, I'll work with you on the third party stuff after the election. But right now, this guy's a monster. That shit never happens. They just every year to try to get you to vote for whoever they put up. The reality of it is...
That'd be nice.
Yeah, it never happens. Because basically, the Democrats and they're okay with the system the way it works.
It doesn't have to happen. You know what I mean? Like, I don't do shit for you, and I'm still going to get what I want. So
right, exactly.
I'm not going to do shit for you.
Blacks are going to vote for Joe Biden 93%. 93%. What does Joe Biden have to do for blacks? Not a goddamn thing. Nothing.
Apparently,
Joe Biden
not much.
can take a shit on the Martin Luther King Monument.
Whoa. Too far.
And they would still vote for Joe Biden.
He's still better than Trump, so he'll get my
vote.
vote.
And they will still vote for Joe Biden. Do you know how sad that is? They'll be like, that's some nasty shit that asshole did, but fuck, we gotta stop Trump. That's what they would say. That's why disgusting that is. That's why I use that example. Because I want to get across how fucked up it is. How screwed up that you don't have an affirmative politics in a moment where millions of people are in the streets. That you basically have Cobra. I'll give you Cobra. I'll give you a partial whatever this or partial whatever that. But the real demands and the screaming that's coming out of the crowd, this is a moment where whatever presidential candidate should say, the crowd is telling me to do this, and try to knock that shit out to the rafters. But you only do that if you believe it. If Sanders was running right now, do you think that the political space will be an afterthought in the way it is now? Fuck no. He would be out there, we need to provide Medicare for all.
I thought you were going to ask if I thought he was going to shit on the monument.
No. I was trying to make the point that our political space looks like an afterthought right now, meaning Joe Biden, considering what's taking place on the streets. And he has no way of harnessing that because he doesn't want to do anything for that. The best thing he can do is performative. So he may give you a black woman for vice president, but it's going to be a black woman who basically is falling in line with his own ideology of the world. That's not a win. It's a performative, theatrical display. There's a difference in those things. Sanders would be trying to knock this out of the park. And his argument would be, we have 40 million people unemployed. We have thousands of people on the streets. We have an eviction apocalypse. We have 110,000 people. He would list all of the sins. And he would say, those people demand us to do something. And those people will come out in stadiums. And those crowds and those protests would grow. And the media would be like, wow, this looks like a movement. And the media would be out there in the crowd, hey, why are you out here today? Why are you out here today? And he would be harnessing the righteous rage and indignation that's in that crowd into his political space in order to accomplish his objectives politically. What did he say? You need a political revolution. The fuck you got out in the streets right now? Say you want a revolution. Now, the catch is, revolutions aren't bloodless. Nobody told them that. Nobody told him that.
Somebody asked me, how was Biden better than Trump? That's not what... Well, I was being sarcastic when I said I'd vote for Biden.
In specific terms...
I'm not voting for Biden.
I think it's a flat fact that if you say, all right, I'm putting on a page and say, Joe Biden believes, at the very least, in the most modest of ways in climate change. Trump says, fuck it. Joe Biden believes in the most modest ways of, lowering the tax rate to just a little bit higher I'm sorry, lower on corporations than what Obama had it. So Obama, let's say, I don't know, let's say 30%. And Joe Biden say, okay, I'll take it down to 17%, but Donald Trump has it at 14%. Whatever that number is. Like, I'll be least worse.
Still horrible.
It's so horrible. So it's like, I won't crash the car into the wall at 90 miles an hour. I'll do it at 70 miles per hour. And you were like, all right.
You're still going to die, though,
all right? Fair enough. That's a little better. That's pragmatically least worse.
Actually, I want to go with 70, so it's quicker.
I'm trying to make the point to you that if you're looking at those things in very narrow focused terms, you can come away with an assessment that is inappropriate in the larger context of things. Meaning, in the larger context of things, you have moved politically so far to the right, part and parcel, because you've removed all notion of political accountability out of your body politic by accepting blue no matter who. You've basically allowed anything to take place. There is no objective thing that makes a Democrat a Democrat. You don't think that's weird? You have a political party that basically is entirely relative to the other party. Least worse. Least worse. Is there anything objective that makes you you? If I say this political party, whatever this political party is that I'm in, I will die bleeding on the flag to protect healthcare. I don't give a shit what happened. The world can come to an end. Alien invasion can take place. They could be shooting my body up and I will still be holding onto the flag, fighting for Medicare for all. That's what I want. I think that's what the public wants. A clear understanding of what the fuck you are. Now, the catch is, Democrats don't have that. There's nothing in them that makes them anything. And that's a problem. Like, I'm making the point that if you're going to be anything, you need to be something. There should be something that's objectively you, not necessarily something that's entirely always relative. And because of such, and because you, as a person, removed any line that you were willing to go, blue no matter who, ham sandwich, I'll take them, then this is the political system you have. They're tone deaf. They don't care anymore. Yeah. You spent 40 years falling in line, and now they're saying, you fall in line again. Well, you know. And what makes it so bad, they will double test it. Like, if I say, if I'm your candidate, and you say, yeah, fuck all, I'm not voting for you, I still win. And I say to myself, okay, maybe now that things are bad, she'll vote for me now after this. Meaning, it's testing twice. It's not just, okay, you lost once and that's it. No, they will test that over and over again to make sure that that particular bit of reality is true because it's gone for 40 years. What do you expect them to do? Fortunately, those people are in the streets. And I just don't know. It's one thing if you had a Sanders that can harness that.
Wait.
And because you don't have a Sanders, then it's just chaos. I mean, it becomes,
Marcus will clearly want you to stop talking about Sanders.
Go for it.
A couple minutes ago, he said Sanders ain't going to do shit.
No,
now,
but somebody brought up Sanders. Somebody else brought up Sanders.
But now he says, isn't it clear by now that Bernie ran to make sure the pendulum didn't swing too far to the left after a populist Trump victory?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think it's that craven. I think he's just weak. I know that's a minor assessment. I vacillate between weak and being a sheepdog, like being phony opposition of sorts. Because I don't understand how you could be in a campaign with somebody, you walk with King, you get chained to a black woman and dragged away during the civil rights movement. As a child, you understood where you were in the struggle of class and everything else, and you were on the right side of it. Joe Biden was on the opposite side, working against civil rights in regards to the busing legislation, was working with segregationists. I can show you the speeches where he's talking about Strom Thurmond out in the day, singing in the day like racists, putting more black bodies in prison, and not part of the civil rights movement. But instead lied about it. And you, who need the black vote, don't mention that. How weird is that? And I said Donald Trump was going to mention that, and guess who mentioned it? Donald Trump mentioned that. Why wouldn't he? It's the most rational thing in the world for a political campaign to do, and he wasn't doing it. So, to me, I don't know if he's been a sheepdog where he's just full opposition, where he was just there just to kind of suck up that and then try to sheepdog those people into the Democratic Party. I don't put it past them. Or if it was just radical weakness, where just utter level of political malpractice. I don't know which one it is. I'm just making the very basic point that if Sanders was running with this mob going on, he would handle this far, far differently. And the energies of that mob would be able to be used in the political space to get gains. Not with Biden. Which means, I don't know what happens. I don't know if that turns into something that's more rancid, where those people realize they're not getting what they want politically, and they really do indeed start setting shit on fire. Look, if I'm out of my house, if I don't have a home, and I attributed that to the government, just because the violence is impersonal doesn't mean it's not violence. I mean, for fuck's sake, punch a person in the eye, that person still go home, put a steak on their eye, and watch TV. What if you don't have a home? Which is worse, getting punched in the eye or not having a home? I'm trying to make the point to you that it's still violence, and it's something that your state accepts. I can't necessarily begrudge those people for being angry and ornery and trying to make their pain visited on the rest of society in regards to pain of saying, look, I'm hurting. You're also going to hurt if I have to hurt, where society is not doing their jobs. I don't know where that goes. And I'm very concerned about it. I just look at it and think, it's one thing, during FDR's time, when those people were out in the streets, they had a political space that was attentive to it. We don't. Our political space don't care. And show you what I mean by performative politics. Muriel Bowser, in D.C., mayor, one woman that Bob can't stand, she put out, damn it, I thought I put it out. She put out a Black Lives Matter written in the street.
We saw that. In D.C., written down the street in big yellow letters.
Right, to piss off Trump.
Black Lives Matter.
She basically was trolling Trump. All right, the president's racist, so let's say something about Black lives on the street. Now, there's a lawsuit that's going to go on with this because some group said she shouldn't have been able to do this and change the name to Black Lives Boulevard and those type of things. And, you know, she's getting a lot of credit for this. Where is it?
Somebody... I remember when that first came out, somebody said, but did we ask for that, though? Like,
right, nobody asked for that.
Change.
So right here. So, Black Lives Matter. Taunting Trump. Now, at the exact same time that she's writing Black Lives Matter, she is also increasing the budget to the police department by $500 million simultaneously.
Multitasking.
So, it's this performative stuff where it's like, okay, I'm going to show solidarity with Black Lives Matter, but then I'm going to turn around and up the budget by $580 million. Performative. I'm just going to dance, shake, and move, and you're going to basically give me a pass for dancing, shaking, and moving. You know, Sean, when I was talking to him today, Sean, very bright. Sean made this point of saying, he says, is it that blacks have been so mangled and mistreated that their understanding of a win is so menial in compared to what a win really is? So a Kamala Harris, who worked locking up and terrorizing homeless mothers for truancy violations, basically criminalizing the poor, would be considered a win because there are no real wins in the terms of real material gains for African Americans. I think there's something to be said there, but not just for blacks, for the population as a whole. Like, you must understand, that's not just a black thing. That's a population as a whole thing. Yes, the wealthy and owner class nails it. Hits it out the park every other day. But in this case, you have a lot of people who are marching under the banner of Black Lives Matter. And the question becomes, how does that translate into any kind of political gains? Well, in some localities it has, but in federal terms, how does it translate? Well, you see Muriel Bowser increasing the budget by $580 million, or at the very least trying to, while saying I'm for Black Lives Matter and getting all of this attention for putting the thing on the boulevard. What did you materially do to ameliorate the hard edges of the capitalist system involving homeless, healthcare, or poverty? Talk to me about that. Yeah, nothing. Language. I just did language. That's all I did. And so what Joe Biden is going to do is, all right, all these black people are ornery. Let's give them this blackish person, Kamala Harris, and let her, you know. So Kamala Harris has been coming out talking about criminal justice. Like, isn't it amazing the way they can do that? No shame. No shame.
It's like we have no memory of, you know, your history.
But the population gives them that. Like, the black community will accept Kamala Harris and be like, yes, we won. We got a black woman. Obama was black. He gave 95% of the income to the top 1%. You had a black president. Why do you need a black vice president?
It didn't do any good.
Right. It's like, I get...
Black Lives Matter was started under Obama.
Yes. Eric Garner was choked to death under Obama. People may forget that. Like, has there really been a substantive change in race relations and race behavior and cop behavior between Obama and Trump? No. Trump is a boogeyman, yes. No change in that very specific regard.
All right, I'm going.
Yeah, I'm gonna end it here. I'm dragging ass.
Don't forget to tune in every weekday, Monday through Friday, 12 to 2 p.m. right here on YouTube, or if you're in the local DC, Maryland, Virginia area, to 105.5 FM for Jamal and Bob's show, Political Misfits. If you haven't learned already, it is every weekday. So even if the notifications are not happening,
it's there.
Still tune in 12 to 2. Thank you for everybody who contributes to the channel. Thank you for everybody who is a Patreon. I think we got a new one tonight. Make sure if you are... Thank you for everyone who's a patron on the Patreon platform.
Right.
Make sure that you are taking advantage of contributor appreciation and patron appreciation and giving us topic suggestions.
Have a bunch of UFO questions.
Put a topic on the post so we can get Jamal to talk about it.
Like.
Thanks for watching.
Share. Subscribe. Long day.
Are you going to drink out of this?
Yes, at some point.
It's humongous.